There we go, we're live. Hello everybody, long time no see. Let me just pop this chat out. That's better. Let me just shrink it down a fraction so I can just get it set up a bit. Good evening everybody. If anybody wants to come on, I have just posted the link so people can come on and chat about this if they want to. I'm going to do the 4 clairs tonight: clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognience. Thanks, Nikki. Hi, everybody. What I'm going to do, I think, is basically do it on a question and answer type thing. I'll basically run down what the different things are, but it's up to you which ones you want to discuss and what questions you want to ask. Like I say, if anybody wants to come on, I'll repost the link again. Hang on. And all you got to do is just click it. There you go. For some reason, it won't let me do it via Streamlabs, so I'm having to do it via the normal chat. Hi, Anne. Right, 4 types of clairvoyance abilities, as I said: clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognience. 4 distinctly different so-called abilities that various psychics claim to have. Very uncommon for all 4 to be possessed by one person. Oh, that was nice, Anne. You were just thinking about me. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on. Feeling a lot better. Not as bad as I have been. Still getting there, but there you go. Right. We'll start with clairvoyance. Clairvoyance basically means clear seeing. Probably the most common ability that people have. It results in things like people who can see ghosts or see visions of the past or even see visions of the future. You do find a lot of people who go on to YouTube channels claim to have this ability. Like I say, it does seem to be one of the 2 most common. Quite often it is combined with clairaudience, which is clear hearing, which is where people claim to hear the spirits. You do get people basically who can have one or the other. So you get people who sometimes can see things but not basically hear them. Or you can have people who are gifted with clairaudience, where they hear voices but don't actually see anything. Of the 4 different types of the gifts, I suppose clairaudience is the one that is most susceptible to being put down to mental illness, as it is something that's very common if you suffer from schizophrenia, hearing voices, stuff like that. A lot of the armchair mediums on here do claim to have both, but it is not as common as people think it is. Sort of things you'd have with clairvoyance would be daydreaming, stuff like that. That is probably one of the most common manifestations of clairvoyance, is people who daydream a lot. People who tend to, when you speak to them, they tend to say, I see to you a lot. I see this, I see that. Very intuitive people. Welcome back, Claire. I was going to invite you on as a guest, Claire. I don't know whether you want to come on or not. You could be the 5th Claire, being that we're discussing the 4. A Clara Bell, yeah. Oh, is Claire on her way back home? I thought I was still in Wales. I didn't realise she was going home tonight. But yeah, clairvoyance is the most common of them all. Like I say, it is the one that most people say when they claim that they see ghosts and stuff like that. I suppose prophecy is another form of clairvoyancy, where people claim to see things in the future. It's not so common for people with clairvoyance to actually see the future, even though a lot of people lump everything paranormal and any psychic ability they tend to lump under the heading of clairvoyance, but clairvoyance is a very specific skill. It is the art of seeing things. Quite an interesting one, like I say, the most common one. Going on to the next one, which is normally combined with clairvoyance, is clairaudience. Now, this is people who tend to hear voices, claim that the dead talk to them. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Like I say, it is the skill that is most connected to mental illness, with things like schizophrenia and other similar kind of mental problems. Most of your famous psychics do combine clairaudience with clairvoyance. The type of people who tend to be clairaudient tend to use the terms, I hear this, I hear that, I've heard this, I've heard that. It's the kind of thing that you listen out for when people claim that they're psychic. Not so much connected with things like prophecy. It is basically audible stuff only. It is linked to the hearing, hence the name clairaudience, which does mean clear hearing. The clair actually means clear in all of them. Hello, Joanne, I'm fine, thank you. It's not a skill I possess. I don't possess clairvoyance either, I've got to be honest. I was in Birmingham on the way to Sheffield. That'll be a nice trip for you, Claire. I normally go the opposite way, Sheffield to Birmingham. But I don't know how many of you on here claim that you've either clairvoyant or clairaudient, but that's something we'll get to in the chat a bit later on. Lee's prepared to welcome home his chippy wife. He has lined the bed with the greaseproof paper. She's probably lived on chips over the weekend at news. It's right, I'm just reading the chat. One of the most famous of the older school clairaudience was a medium called Doris Stokes. She actually had both clairvoyance and clairaudience, but she particularly started as a child with clairaudience. It was hearing things. She heard things first before she started to see them. What is interesting to note with clairaudience is a lot of people do go on to develop. Oh, hang on. There we go. We've got Sam and we've got Andy. A lot of people do go on to develop clairvoyance if they are particularly strong in the area of clairaudience. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Hi, Andy.
Hello. This is a blast from the past.
Isn't it just?
Thanks for that, Claire. Much appreciated. Right. Andy, what's your opinion on clairvoyance and clairaudience?
Well, I think, well, there's definitely something to it because, it's, well, it all comes into it for me, with side by side with paranormal, innit,
Yeah.
I reckon a lot of people that have seen stuff, heard stuff, is like a very basic level of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like all those that go out and will like hear a voice and we'll be like, oh, and it might have picked up on camera, or your audio. I think we've all got it in us, and I think it can be developed.
Yeah, this is something I was gonna discuss a bit later on.
Yeah.
I basically think that everybody has actually got psychic abilities. I believe that anybody could actually develop any of the four. I think they're latent in all of us. It's just the fact that some people can naturally bring them out a lot easier. But I do believe that anybody could train themselves to do any of the four. But like I say, it's very uncommon for people to display all the four at once.
Mm-hmm.
Sam?
I would consider myself sensitive, but uncontrolled sensitive.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
What would you consider yourself? Clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, or claircognient?
I don't know the difference between them all.
Right. Clairvoyance is seeing things. So it would be like seeing the past, present, or future. Remote viewing falls under clairvoyance. So people who've got the ability to look at other places, that is a form of clairvoyance. Your clairaudience is hearing voices, which can sound like you're a bit like a psycho, but it is other things as well. Your clairsentience is sensing things, and that is more the realm of the empaths. People who claim they're empathic. Cheers, Julie. My son's mother's on. Just great to see you back. Yeah, I'm still alive. Thank you. Yeah, Nikki, an empath is actually classed as clairsentient. That is the realm of the empaths. Claircognizance, Sam, is people who know things instinctively. Like people who walk into an house and they immediately know that the house has got a good or a bad vibe about it, or if they meet somebody and they instantly like them or dislike them. That is claircognizance.
Yeah.
So which one do you think you fall under?
I would be under the sensitivity.
So you'd be classed as clairsentience.
Empathic as well.
Yeah.
But it's uncontrolled. Like if I go into a crowd of people, it's like a load of those energies. It's like everybody shouting at me at once, kind of thing, and that's why I tend to avoid those kind of things. But we have, people that I've worked with do have sensitives in their team, and if we went around a location, the sensitive doesn't go around with us because we the story has been told to us that they don't want to know beforehand, and in that way it's kind of good because it's working hand in hand with science, kind of thing. The sensitive senses things around a location. We have to try and prove them right or wrong through science, kind of thing, But the reason why I went into science is because I didn't like a lot of the things that I was sensing, if you know what I mean. I try to bottle it away, and when I'm in a location, sometimes I do feel certain energies. I'm only starting to sort of open up a little bit more now. Before this, I would not open up how I'm feeling.
Right.
Do you know?
Is this something you've had since you were a child, or is it something that developed as you got older?
I wouldn't be able to remember now.
You're not sure?
I'm not 100% sure, no.
See, I'm of the opinion that children tend to see and hear things, or are more clairsentient or cognizant, because they haven't got the filters that we develop as adults. I honestly believe that adults develop blocks to cope with the extra senses they're getting in, and as you get older, you develop some kind of mental block to stop it happening. Because I think we're brought up as adults to, if you're hearing voices, there's something wrong with you mentally, which is not always the case.
Well, even up until the 80s, 90s, if you had those kind of abilities, a lot of people would tend to keep that quiet because any sort of difference, you would be shunned upon or whatever. So a lot of, people are more sort of open nowadays because people are more accepting.
Yeah.
So that's why we're hearing more and more about this now rather than then, because a lot of this stuff was brushed under the carpet. There was only a certain amount of people that were open about it.
Yeah.
And they made careers out of them. Whether some of them were fake or true, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of famous people that are said to be legit and stuff like that. But in general, the general population wouldn't expose that about themselves up until recently, because they would be labeled under the mental health spectrum, to be honest with you.
Andy, what's your opinion on that, about young people being more susceptible to being psychic or clairvoyant?
I agree that they are. I mean, I was same growing up. I heard a lot of voice stuff growing up. and it weren't sort of your own sort of thoughts or what people peg as, like voices telling you to do stuff. It were like literally things screaming the name and stuff like that. So, but as you start getting older, it starts getting duller, you know.
And do you think that is because of like outside pressure of people, and you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't really be saying this to anybody because they're going to think I'm nuts?
Well, yeah, but I kind of think it's an environmental factor anyway with everything. Stuff that we start putting into our bodies, conditioning through educations and, becoming like more social with friends growing up. You find things that you're interested in that blocks that sort of stuff out.
Yeah.
I think it just grows out on you to some degree. I mean, some people do keep it, obviously.
Yeah.
But
so have you ever like seen things as well as heard things? Did you see things as a child?
Oh yeah.
So you combine clairaudience and clairvoyance?
Yes.
Yes. See, because it's quite funny because they tend to be split down the middle. Clairvoyance tends to link up well with clairaudience, and claircognience tends to link up really well with clairsentience.
Yeah.
And you very rarely get somebody who's like clairaudient and claircognient.
Yeah.
If people who tend to be very strong in clairaudience tend to have clairvoyance as like a secondary skill, and vice versa. You do occasionally get them crossover, but it's very rare for somebody to be like clairvoyant and then clairsentience at the same time. They're more likely to be clairvoyant.
I think there were only one instance in my life where I had all four clairs at the same time.
Go on, tell us.
And they were all smothered in cream with a nice layer of chocolate up top.
Yeah, Joanne just put the only Claire's I have are chocolate ones, lol. Right, I'm gonna ask both of you a question because this is one of the things that is a claircognizant, a clairvoyant. I'll get it right in a minute. A clairaudient skill that a lot of people don't realise that they may have experienced. Have you ever been in bed or sitting in a quiet room and heard your name shouted really loudly?
Yeah.
Sam?
No.
You've never experienced that?
I think once, but I think it might have been a dream,
Right.
Yeah.
See, I've had it quite often where somebody's gone red when I've been lying in bed awake, but not up. But I can't say I've ever sat there and heard voices as such. So but I think these kind of skills do bleed through all the time. Another claircognizance is another one. Then I'll give you another question that I'll ask you about where you might have actually displayed claircognizance without seeing it. Have you ever experienced deja vu?
Yeah.
Sam? Sam's going to say no again.
No, I don't think so.
You've never experienced deja vu?
Really? Oh, I thought everybody had that to some degree.
That is the most common manifestation of claircognizance, is deja vu, where you already know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, once. I have one recent one, yeah.
Sends you into like a right funny moment, doesn't it? Where you're like, you kind of like go into like a blank stare, don't you?
Yeah.
As you're like seeing it play out, kind of thing, and you're like, oh god, that's so familiar. I love it. Yeah, I think it's a very cool experience.
Yeah. See, a lot of scientists will claim that it's your brain delaying it's recording the info and delaying it by a split second. Personally, I don't think that would happen because that would mean that you were viewing things a second behind, sort of thing, and that don't tend to happen because like if somebody was about to run you over, you jump out of the way instantly. If there was a second delay between you seeing that and then your brain processing it, you get run over. There'd be a lot more traffic accidents on the on the road.
Yeah, I had a it was my last ever driving lesson.
Right.
And way back years ago, what I used to do, when I came to driving lessons time, I just renewed my license with a different address. So I didn't have to do my driving lessons because I had that kind of fear of examiners and stuff like that. So I have been driving for a long, long time when I was doing my test, but I had my one last official driving lesson before my test and we were driving along the road, a straight road, and there was an industrial estate along the side of me here, and this car approached, and it was like it was going into my head, stop, 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 and I could sort of sense this car was going to come across in front of me, even though he didn't physically show the signs that he was going to turn, but the driving instructor says, "No, keep going. Why are you braking? Keep going. And then it was like in my head, stop. And I jammed on the brake, and he says, "What?" And next thing, the car just went straight in front of me, and he says, "How did you do that?" And I says, "I don't know. I don't know. I just knew he was going to cross in front of me." I says, "I was looking at him because I'm a driving instructor.
Yeah.
I'm trained to read people. I didn't see it." I says, "For some reason I did. I don't. I couldn't make it out. But he missed me by about 6 inches.
See,
So,
that is a perfect example of clairaudience, knowing that something's about to happen. That is the perfect example of it. Have you ever experienced anything like that, Andy?
Only thing I ever had what were notable were I once heard my grandma talking and she weren't it out, and then 10 minutes later she arrived for a visit, and then we didn't know she was due to visit or out like that, but I could hear her talking like in kitchen area. And when I went into my mum were on her own, and then 10 minutes later she come, and I was like, oh, that were a bit strange. I don't know if that were like a similar sort of.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of it.
Right.
Perfect example of it. The only thing I used to have a lot of. I don't do it so much now. It still does happen occasionally, but I used to get it a lot when I was in my 20s and 30s. I would suddenly think of somebody who I may not have spoken to for 12 months, and then I could guarantee within 24 hours I would either hear from them or see something concerning them. That was really weird. See, and I put that down to that would be a form of clairsentience, where where you sense that something is about to happen rather than knowing. But I used to get that a lot in my 20s and 30s. People I'd been to school with and maybe not seen since I'd left school, I'd suddenly think about them, and then within 24 hours I'd see them in the street, or somebody'd say, "Oh, such and such we went to school with, I saw him the other day." It was really weird, that was. And I used to have that happen a lot.
Yeah.
There you go, look, Pat says she keeps hearing her name called when there's nobody there.
I had a friend that I was kind of very close to and all the rest of it. And one day I was in the house here and I just had this overwhelming sort of something wasn't right. I just felt something wasn't right. So I rang her. He says, "Are you okay?" And she was crying. She was not in good shape at all. Another friend of mine actually done that to me at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
And she says, "Are you okay?" And I says, "Yeah, I'm all right." She actually woke me up out of a very horrific nightmare, actually. I says, "I'm okay." And then the next day she says, "Are you sure you were all right last night?" I says, "Come clean, tell the truth." I says, "Yeah, she woke me up out of a terrifying nightmare." She says, "I know. I don't know how I know, but I know. That's why I had this urge to ring you. I'm sorry about that." I says, "That's grand. It's okay," because I didn't like what I was experiencing,
Yeah.
It's very hard to explain some of these things, though. It's just fascinating,
See, a lot of people don't realise that these 4 different types of psychic ability are actually quite everyday occurrences for some people, and nearly everybody has experienced at least one of them in the life. You know, like Deja vu. That is cognience in action, if that's what you believe. You know, if you believe claircognizance is a thing. You know, when you go to someone's house or you meet somebody, and this is something I'm really strong in. I think that I will class myself as clairsentient, because I walk into houses, I'm Maverick, or I meet somebody and straight away I either like the place or the person, or I don't. You know, and I get these feelings off them. You know, I just feel that you're not quite right, sort of thing. It's not so much claircognizance for me; it's more clairsentient. I tend to feel that they're not quite right, or a place is not quite right. But like I say, people don't realise how common these are. You know, even people, because I don't consider myself psychic in any way, shape, or form. I always say I'm as a psychic as a cardboard box. But if I put certain things together, I suppose I could say I was psychic because of the certain things I tend to do a lot. You know, I tend to put it down to intuition more than anything else. But they are technically classed as psychic abilities.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of studies, you know, especially with identical twins.
Yeah.
A lot of this there's this connection between a lot of twins, and a lot of the research was based around them, where they could sense what each other was feeling, you know.
Yeah. See, I ain't a twin, but we've got twins in the family, and they used to be like that. If even when they could, you know, they could be miles and miles apart, and if there was a problem with the one, the other one instinctively knew. Really strange how they work. Joanne's put, when you meet people, you can get feelings too. You know, if you will get on or not. Yeah, Joanne, and that is clear. That you can either put that down to clairsentience or claircognizance, depending on whether you're sensing it off them or whether you just instinctively know. You know, it depends on how you're getting the information as to which one it is. But, you know, when you meet people and you know whether you're going to like them or not, that can be either claircognizance or clairsentience, depending on how you're getting the, you know, before it happens. Andy, any other examples you've had recently?
Oh, not recently, no. No.
I wish I'd had them yesterday when I went to the barbers. Oh, God. I'll tell you a quick funny story about my barber's thing yesterday. Went to the barber's to get my mohawk trimmed. First thing he did was folded my ear roll over while he was doing the what's it. And it's only been in a few weeks. I nearly jumped out of the chair. So comes to the end. Couldn't believe it. Comes to the end of he cut my hair, and he said they've got the music on in the barbers up full blast. I couldn't hear a thing. He's foreign, mumbling at me, and he said something to me, and me being me, because I didn't hear him properly, just went, yeah, okay. And off he walks, and then he came back with 4 huge cotton buds with green globs on the end, and he stuck 2 in my ears and 2 up my nostrils.
Oh.
Waxing sticks, Andy. Yeah, I don't realise. And he pulled the 2 ear ones out after 5 minutes, and that was all right. But when he went to do the nose ones, and he grabbed the both of them, and he went 1, 2, 3, and snatched them down. Jesus Christ!
Wow.
Yeah, I've got lovely smooth nostrils now, but Jesus, did it hurt. But you know, I wish I'd have had claircognizance then to know what was coming. I tell you. But yeah, I found with it, you know, like I say, I had it a lot in my 20s and 30s. I never really had it much as a kid. It was more when I became, you know, in my 20s and 30s. But now I'm, you know, through my 40s, I still get it. Where I can go somewhere or I can meet somebody and I think don't like you, or I do, you know, we're going to get on. But that is the only thing I seem to have maintained since. Everything else has just gone off, sort of thing. So I think, you know, even if some people tend to keep whatever is their strongest ability, that's the one they hang on to the longest. So what was your last thing that happened to you, Sam?
I know I go on about it like other people talk about East Drive, but it was Sharon Rectory. Before we got invited by Peninsula Paranormal Group Rachel was in contact with them, trying to organize organize an investigation with them and that. And I says, we have to go here. I really, really want to go here now. And when I got the news from Peninsula Paranormal Group that, you know, they were going and they invited me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all excited about it and everything. Go through the walkthrough, you know, their initial walkthrough, like a lot of paranormal groups do. You get a walk around the house, the owner said, this happened here and this appeared here and all the rest of it. It's like I was blown away because there was rooms in the house that I sort of were strangely familiar. There was this television on the end of a bed. There was this small little table, and there was actually an incident with that table and the television where it was thrown over on its own, seemingly. But before I got to the location, I actually could picture this television on this table stand on the end of the bed and that. And I was so surprised that I wasn't surprised of what I seen in that house for some reason.
See, now that sounds to me that you've hung on to clairvoyance more so than anything else.
It was like I was taking on a picture, you know, a virtual reality walkthrough the night before I actually went to the actual house.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know whether I have some sort of connection with it because, you know, the night after we done the investigation, I done a spirit box session and all the family members' names came up on the spirit box. And, you know, I was sitting here looking through footage and that, and I got this kind of breeze going past me, and then this old-fashioned smell of perfume and stuff.
It weren't one of your famous farts, was it, Sam?
No, my parts.
Don't smell of sweet perfume.
No, definitely not. In all fairness, Rachel does more than me.
Right. Okay.
I'm more into keeping them quiet, but Rachel just makes.
Just lets them rip.
Yeah, and then she bursts out laughing. You know.
Yep.
I try to carry on regardless, but she just makes a big massive deal out of them. So.
Back to the bone.
Yeah, but it was like a dream, but I was taking on a virtual tour of a kind, and I was wondering about a gun.
A gun.
And I was saying, and then when I got there, I was saying, "Is there a gun buried outside in the yard or in the shed or whatever?" Next thing, I was taken into the sitting room, and there was this remnants of you could call it a lady's gun, you know, a small, tiny handgun hanging up in a little frame. And they said while they were doing renovations, they found this in the rafters of one of the outhouses. And I was
what a thing to find! It's a rectory, a gun.
I know, yeah.
Andy, what was your last one?
Which one?
Your last, what you consider as, you know, like a psychic ability, or what would be classed? Yeah, the Claire, your last Claire. Who was the last Claire you had?
Last Claire I had. Well, that's a tale for another story.
Wisteria's going bright red now.
Yeah, good cheers. Right. It's a bit bizarre. This.
Well, this should be interesting then.
It's a little bit bizarre. So, when I used to work alongside one of the big YouTubers, he moved local to me, and I told him not to drop cigarette tabs in middle of town because they're finding you over it.
They're the same here in Rotherham.
Yeah, and this particular day, an old chap who's no longer with us, once gave me one of his cigarettes to try, and it was quite a herbal cigarette.
Yeah.
And there was a lot more than I'm used to having, and we're in local park anyway. I decided I needed to get home because my legs had gone. I know. Really relaxed. And
Yeah.
So I sets off walking with Becky and dog like, and my phone starts ringing, and it was this massive famous YouTube star moaning that he'd been fined, for dropping a cigarette. Yeah. Anyway, and as he's talking away, his voice kind of had drifted away on phone, and then the voice of a child replaced it. Right. And we noticed somebody had set a fire to Country Lane where Nature Reserve is.
Yeah.
We were down bottom end of there, and somebody had lit a fire in dry grass. So Becky's trying to pour a bloody Coca-Cola all over it to put it out.
Yeah.
And I'm stood listening to this child speaking on phone. Now, his voice had completely disappeared. And as you can imagine, if I'd had some of this herbal cigarette, I'd gone into like a daze. And I'm trying to listen to what this voice was saying. And I were understanding bits because I were answering it. I was like, yeah, right. And then kind of it fizzled away. And he was saying, "Are you hearing me?" His voice come back, other guy, and I was like, I goes, "I ain't got a clue what you've just said." I goes, "Because your voice weren't there, Yeah. But I can't remember what this child said. I cannot, I just can't remember.
Do you know what? I've had that where I've heard something, and then after I thought, I don't know, I can't remember what they said, even though I know at the time it was really important.
And it were a good 5 minutes long, so you'd have thought I'd have had a remembrance of something. I can just remember pitch and voice, which were really soft and like a child. And that were really bizarre. That were real. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
I don't know what were going on there. Never will. But it was cool.
Have the Fae ever spoken to you about psychic ability? Do they believe in it?
Yes.
It's a cat girl.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's something that the do kind of prefer is try and develop if you can, through meditation and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think it's kind of getting back to roots of how they used to communicate with them in the past rather than equipment.
Yeah.
So I was explaining this to somebody the other day. We've got it easy way in modern times. Knowing how well that they can use REM-based spirit boxes.
Yeah.
We've got it pretty damn easy, but back in old days, they didn't have none of that. And they got all this information from them. So they're, getting in tune with all them abilities must have been rather good.
Yeah.
If you think about it. So
yeah. See, Pat's put on there, empathy is my biggest gift, and then Lizzie asked what psychometry was. Both of them are clairsentients. They're both, linked to sensing. Go on. Sorry, Andy, carry on.
Yeah. So I think they do encourage it, to start using your senses rather than it's just getting time to develop that sort of stuff, innit?
Yeah. Pat says, could it be classed as remote viewing? Remote viewing is slightly different to psychometry. Remote viewing is just basically the ability to see a place you're not actually in, whereas psychometry actually gives you information off the item you're touching or whatever. But they're both classed. Both of them are classed as clairsentient. They're both clairsentient abilities. They're both to do with sensing information rather than knowing or seeing or hearing. Though remote viewing could actually form under clairvoyance, but it is considered more so a realm of clairsentience.
One of my biggest regrets lately is a couple of weeks ago, the gas inspector had to inspect my gas, the yearly inspection and stuff like that. Now, the year before that, that particular different gas man came in here and couldn't wait to get out because Robert the doll was staring at him the whole time.
I can understand that.
But the next guy came
with that one.
The next guy came in and I says, sorry about the mess, I've been sick and all the rest of it. And he says, I knew I was going to come across something interesting today, and it was with me all day, and I didn't know what it was. And this is it. Like, what do we have here? I says, well, this is my sort of kitchen, which it's not a kitchen anymore. It's a studio. Also, you have a YouTube channel. Yeah. And he says, is there something to do with the paranormal? I says, yes, it is. And then he went on about, myself and my wife were big into the paranormal and stuff like that. And we go to a place in County Meath every year to get this stuff called ayahuasca or something. It's something these tribes used to have. I can't pronounce it properly. Something ayahuasca anyway.
Yeah.
And he says we go there every. No, it's something like ayahuasca or some sort. It's
yeah. I think you're saying it right there, Sam.
All right.
Yeah.
And he says, he says, do you know anything about it? I says, I just seen Josh Gates on a documentary, and it makes you sick and all the rest of it. He says, yeah, it does. But the reason why we go there is because, do you know, we are our brains are trained to do certain things and stuff like that. We're conditioned by society and stuff.
Yeah, this is why I think a lot of people lose any ability they have as they come into adulthood.
Yeah, we go there and we get this stuff. This lady brings it over from wherever they get it from.
There you go. James has put it in there for you, Sam. It's pronounced ayahuasca. Ayahuasca. So you was probably pronouncing it right.
Yeah. The reason for taking that to them was that it's like your computer. You browse history and you upload stuff, and next thing your computer needs defragging and stuff like that. And he says it's like defragging your brain and your senses. It just resets everything. Do you know?
That's what David Icke started taking right in early days, to open his senses
his
up.
Whatever it is he opened.
Yeah.
He's all seeing lizard eye.
He's getting somewhere though. I'll give him
I'll be honest with you. A lot of what he says is off the charts in wackiness, but some of the things he covers are quite interesting. It's just that a lot of his far out stuff, overshadows his stuff that is more plausible. Opens the chakras. There you go. Chakras, however you want to pronounce it.
That's right. I'm sorry I didn't ask him. Do you mind if we record this conversation? Because it just would have made a brilliant podcast. Yeah. Really, really very interesting in that. And he was here longer than he would normally be in another house because we were chatting for ages, and he was telling me all about it and that, and basically it just resets everything. And he says, we stay away from the news, and we try to stay away from a lot of social medias and stuff like that, because there's a lot of negativity there, and you're taking in that negativity and you're carrying it around on a rucksack, even if that negativity has got nothing to do with you. Subconsciously, we pick up negative stuff like a magnet, and we carry it around with us. Do you know? Say we see a video and it's some paranormal drama or whatever. And it's in our head, even though it's got nothing to do with us. It just sometimes is in our head. He says when you go there and you take this, it just resets everything. It just back to factory settings, basically.
Lizzie says, hang on a second, just before it goes off the screen, so I don't forget. Lizzie says, all telepathy and telekinesis, if they exist under any of the Claire banners. Sorry, it just popped into my head. Telepathy falls under the jurisdiction of Clairaudience. Telekinesis, I don't believe it does, because that's actually moving stuff with your mind. So that's not actually, it's not any of the sensing sort of thing. It's a different thing. But telepathy definitely falls under clairaudience. Sorry, Sam, go on, carry on.
I've lost my train of thought.
And I have, because I've just answered that question.
Yeah, no.
You were talking about magnetism and bad energy.
Yeah, basically, when you take this stuff, it just puts your brain back to factory settings, which most of us don't experience. And he says he says it makes us really, really positive people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and actually your senses are heightened. All the senses that we have, you know, we don't use a large proportion of our brain. We don't use our senses in a particular, you know, in the full power of our senses, because it's polluted with other things coming into our energy and that. And he says it heightens up everything, because it clears a lot of what is going through the brain, you know.
Right. Here's one for Andy then. Do you believe, Andy, that, and then I'm going to ask Sam a slightly different question. Do you believe that psychic powers can be boosted the nearer you are to a ley line, considering what people believe they are?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Sam, I'll ask Sam that one before I ask her the other question. Have you got an opinion on that?
You know, people talk about ley lines and stuff like that, and you know, the possibility that energy is much is heightened in ley lines. But I didn't actually look into it very much, to be honest.
Right. Now I'm going to ask you both questions. I'll start with you, Sam, and then Andy can give his opinion on it. Going on that with ley lines, do you believe that modern technology with things like electricity pylons and new 5G and phone waves, do you believe that they could actually interfere with psychic ability?
Possibly, but because you know, a lot. All I can explain about feeling energy is I can go into a room and I can feel that it's heavy in one certain part of the room, and off camera I will push my hand in and out like that, and I will feel a slight resistance once it hits that energy. I can't explain it. Now, if EMF is involved in that, and if EMF is involved in a lot of the paranormal, which we take measurements for that, we see EMF detectors used in possible communication. You know, there's a lot of cases where you know, there's great evidence of these devices responding by flashing twice and flashing once for yes or no responses and stuff like that. You know, it is a possibility that that those kind of energies can have effect on it, because we're looking at you know, right in front of me here, very high powered power lines and stuff like that, and those kind of power lines are knocking out over 100 milligauss.
Yeah.
And most people that are sort of used to playing around the area are fine, but when I walk past them, I can, you know, if you stand under the power line for too long, I actually get a headache and stuff like that. It's linked with illnesses. It's linked with cancers. You know, if our brain is made up of electricity, it's bound to interfere with that as well. You know, so.
Sorry, Sam. Sorry, I thought you.
No, yeah. Well, I'm sort of finished. Yeah.
So, Andy, what's your opinion on that?
I'm a little bit on a double-edged sword on this one.
Right.
So on one hand, I think depending on you personally and how your internal function is,
Right.
And I think some people can be affected via it spiritually in a negative manner, but I think some people can harness it and neutralize it and use it.
So you think they can convert like electrical energy into psychic energy?
Yes.
See, well, that would still fit in with the law of physics, because they say energy can't be destroyed, created or destroyed, just converted into another form.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
that even from a scientific point of view, that would be perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
That, any type of energy can be converted into another one.
This is like kind of new research I'm going down as well, so it fits in lovely with what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my opinion on that one. I think it can be.
See, I've met a lot of people in the past who believe one of the functions of ley lines is to act as like a receptor and a booster, rather like a signal booster for psychic ability.
Yeah.
And that is quite a common belief amongst a lot of people I've spoken to. That that it's not the only function, but it's one of the functions of the ley lines.
Well, apparently they've just found out as well in Stonehenge that they can contain a sound wave and not have it leave the circle.
All right.
Yeah. They've just been running some experiments on it, and it actually contains within the circle, and it doesn't leave it. And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty cool. It's like for me, they were building a massive circuit board all over Earth, and these lines are the current lines, between the points of a circuit.
Yeah,
that's what it's coming across as for me.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting that. You'll have to let me know if you hear anything else on that.
Yeah, I would definitely order.
That's interesting. Can you two just talk amongst yourselves while you're going to do me a quick drink, because I'm getting a really dry throat?
Yep.
So you pair can discuss whatever you want for a few minutes.
We'll discuss farts. Come on, Sam.
Okay, that's fine.
It feels like forever since we were all together.
It does.
Do you know something? I was going to go out for a walk, and I says, I'm going to hold on for this. It's been so long and that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a pick me up I need sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been well the last while,
I noticed you've been putting some videos up. How's it going? All right.
I haven't been on investigations. I haven't been because, since the last time I went out and that, I just felt like my mind wasn't, I wasn't in the right place. And I know if I'm not in the right place, I shouldn't do an investigation. So I didn't do.
Right. Okay. You've got to do what's best for you, really.
I could make a big drama out of it and say it was the investigation on the rock that affected both of us very badly. We are scared of our shite to go back in there, but we're going to do it anyway because there was flipping evidence, and there was. The camera doesn't justify what we experienced on that rock. So it's what we felt. Rachel is very sensitive, and she was very open that night of how she felt.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was great that she expressed that. But as terrified as she was, she says we will be going back.
Yeah.
She wants to find out what the hell is going on this rock, which is in the middle of nowhere,
right? Through
some trees and that.
Yeah.
And the spirit box responses was unbelievable.
Excellent.
I was doing the spirit box, and I think I was asked. I have to still fully investigate it. I was asked, "Why are you here?" And sometimes you don't hear in real time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't answer the question. So maybe whatever was communicating thought I was ignoring them.
Ah, right.
And then I was called, fat.
Yeah.
That might be the reason why I was called a fat. But that was clear as anything. But it couldn't be directed any more than me, because I was doing the spirit box and I am a bit fat. I don't know if I am a C, but I am a bit on the tubby side.
Yeah.
I think
you know,
everybody's a bit on the tubby side after lockdown.
Yeah, I need to do a bit more exercises, but yeah, I have some physical pain, which is stopping me doing it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
you know, I really should work past that pain, you know, because it helps. It will help, it sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Right,
But,
is there any questions? Any more questions anybody wants to ask on the Clairs before we move on to a more general chat like we normally do? I'll warn you now, it'll probably be plummeting rapidly after this point.
Oh yeah.
Everyone is ceasing up, lol. Seizing, yeah, they are. I've started going. I'm walking at least twice a day now, at least. But I think I'm going to sign me off the hospital now and just back onto the doctor. So
I've become a right idle shit since I got that car.
everybody did. I did when I got my car. Andy, I'd drive to the shop down the road rather than walk it. But you know, can you have more than one Claire? You can technically have all four of them. But like I said at the beginning, it's very rare for somebody to be strong in all four of them at one time. You'll probably find most people who claim that they're awesome in all four of the different types are, shall we say, not exactly honest people. Is about the best way of putting it then.
Yeah, I mean, like the ones that are honest, you know, they welcome people of science.
Yeah.
To try and debunk them, because their experience and stuff that everybody else doesn't completely understand, and if it could be proved by science, you know, it couldn't be any more better for them, because then they can prove that what they're going through is real, you know, and put a little bit more of a perspective on it. You know.
I'm glad Claire's out of Birmingham, because there's been some stabbings in Birmingham ain't today.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, they're hunting a serial stabber. I think he's killed one and injured 7 in Birmingham, and they're still out caught him yet. He's done a runner.
All right.
So I'm glad Claire's in Derby now, thankfully, is out the way.
These 4 Claire things as well, the tally up to elemental powers as well.
Yeah, it is quite interesting, Andy, that you know, there's 4 specific types.
Yeah, because obviously audience would be an air power.
Yeah.
You know, and voyance would be an earth power.
I would say cognience would probably be the earth power.
Well, earth's usually visual as well. What's feeling one?
Sentience.
That'll be fire.
Yeah.
So they do kind of tally up to them as well, which is pretty cool.
So, anything anybody wants to talk about now, then? Because we've got now more questions. I'm having a little fantasy about Brett in his very sexy leathers. I should never have shown you that picture, Dorothy.
What was it? A motorbike suit?
Yeah, in my motorbike leathers. Because I did used to have a motorbike, Sam. I don't just wear them for pleasure. Well, I do sometimes. They were.
That's an style with ass cut out, them chaps.
I've never wore chaps. I don't like chaps. They're a bit too camp for my liking.
I think they're great.
I ain't a big fan of chaps. I've got to be honest.
Chaps and cowboy boots, amazing. Love them.
Chaps and what? Cowboy boots.
Yeah.
And a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And a leather t-shirt.
Young man.
Look at Sam's face now. Look at Sam's face. Sam's getting all excited now. He's visualising you in your cowboy hat and chaps here, Andy.
Do you know what? Get up that later on.
Do you know the picture I just got in my head? Was
on.
one of the scenes from do you know that cop?
Police Academy.
Police Academy, yeah.
Yeah.
The oyster bar.
The Blue Oyster Bar.
Yeah.
I used to love the Blue Oyster Bar.
Yeah.
I was surprised they never actually opened a club in Birmingham called the Blue Oyster Bar in the gay quarter, because it would have been quite novel, but they never did.
In Brighton, there's a whole street and a whole LGBT street.
Well, they have in Birmingham where I used to live. They got the gay quarter there. It ain't an old street; it's an old area. There's I think there's over 40 clubs and stuff in Birmingham, the gay bars. And they have a big pride down there every year. I wouldn't mind dragging Jace down there one of the years. It'd be an eye opener for him.
That's right, Birmingham is a big one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Manchester and Birmingham are the two. Well, it's Manchester, Birmingham, and Brighton are the three main ones in the country.
Yeah, no pride.
They don't do nothing like that up here. They're a bit reserved up here in Yorkshire. They I think, does Barnsley have a pride? They do down there, Andy. But it's a low-key affair, isn't it?
It's getting a little bit bigger as years go along. But is
it?
Yeah, because it used to be one little back street, but now it's like it's pretty much all town that they have stalls and all sorts now going off. Yeah,
You're right, James. I will have to be fending Dorothy off, man. Leeds has got a big LGBTQ scene.
Yeah, we do have pride in Belfast and Derry. And, we have the organisation here and we have the organisation in Belfast and stuff like that.
How is it like in Ireland, Sam? Has it been like a big Catholic country? Is it getting a bit more accepting over there now? Well,
the reason why I'm living in Northern Ireland is because I had to flee my house in Southern Ireland, but I was living in a village that was very the people were very backward in their ways.
Oh, right.
And I was on the radio talking about LGBT issues and that, and it didn't go down too well in the neighbourhood. And, I had my front door set on fire. They tried to set fire to my car.
Jesus.
They tried to kill my dogs. I got shot at through one of my windows.
You're kidding.
And I eventually had to leave with whatever I could put into a transit van I could get a lend of and leave and just start all over again. I had to move into homeless accommodation. I didn't share it. I've never shared this.
Yeah.
But I had to go into homeless accommodation, but I worked hard to get out of that. But I was always dependent on other people to do things for me, and that's when there was a guy in Derry that had a lot of contacts in that, and he was helping me out an awful lot, and he got me accommodation temporarily before it really went bad.
Yeah,
and it was actually Rachel. He got in contact with Rachel and says, "Do you mind taking in Sam for a little while? She's having a bit of a bad time." And she says, "Yeah, no problem." And he says, "Ring me the next morning, and I'll tell you where the house is and that." And I rang, and there was no answer. So I drove to Derry. And I arrived up at his house, and the dogs were going crazy, but there was no answer at his house and that. And later on, I found out that he was found dead in his bathroom. He took a massive heart attack.
Oh God!
Oh wow!
I took him home from the Rainbow Project organization. I gave him a lift home, but I did see his face was very, very shiny and that. I says, "Are you okay, Sean?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm grand. But I should have pushed it a little bit further, But it was.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at what you were saying. I was laughing at what Dorothy had just put about her ultimate fantasy, a three-way with me and a dolphin.
But when Sean died, that was when I had to grow up and take responsibility in that. And I got out of the homeless accommodation within 3 months. And I got my first apartment. Now I'm in my second apartment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had before I came over here, I had a little car and everything. And for months and months, I was on £20 because I didn't have any insurance number or any of that kind of stuff. I had to go through all this stuff and that. And the rest is history. Yeah, I have my nice little apartment. I have a car, and I go out and I do my YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
And I had the community around me for a while. I since sort of got to a stage where I could depend.
Yeah.
I didn't need that dependence anymore. So, I did get involved with an organisation back in Southern Ireland for a while. Lizzie
says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, they say, I'm sure, but it teaches you about idiots really fast. Yeah, see, I was quite similar, Sam, because when I came out, my parents refused to accept it anyway. And what was quite hypocritical about it is one of my mother's best friends was a lesbian. And my mother's of the opinion it's okay with outside people, but I don't want it in the family sort of thing. And I was told, I could visit, but don't bring your friend. He was always referred to as, he was my long-term partner at the time. We'd been together 5 years, but I was like, no, go and do one. And even now, my mum contacted me when I was ill, and I mentioned Jason, and I kept referring to him as my friend. So I just said, who's my friend? And in the end, I finally did put your partner, but it killed her to put it in the text. And my parents were exactly the same, Sam. Totally narrow-minded, and my mother particularly is an hypocrite. Like I say, has been friends with one of her best friends is a lesbian, who's been out for years, and my mother's well aware of that. But it was okay as a friend, but not in the family. So I was like, in the end, I was just like, get lost, a lot of you. I've had nothing to do with my family for years now.
Yeah, well, I've had, family members, that says, they weren't fully accepting of me, at the beginning. I mean, like they felt like the old person died, and they sort of had to go through a mourning process. I was kind of aware of that.
Yeah.
But the fact that my mental health increased dramatically, for them was a good thing, because I wasn't happy in myself before that, so yes, I had been, I went through a bad time with people on the street and stuff like that. Now, when I grew into myself, I am the way I am now.
Yeah.
It becomes
I think it's why I'm just so flippant with people. I'm like, you either take me as I am, or you can get lost. Simple as. I've got no time to pander with people anymore. It does harden you, I suppose, in the end. But
yeah, I think
I'm gonna drag Andy and Becky to Barnsley Pride next year. It should be a laugh.
Yeah. I think in the beginning of my journey, I was very conscious of people staring at me, and I would take it to heart if they sniggered or had something bad to say. That would ruin my day.
Yeah.
Now I'm not conscious of it. I carry on as normal, and that's a good way to be. And actually, being on YouTube and that, I've had no trouble. I've had one or two bad comments, and that is it. The people in this community, in my community, on my channel, your channel, Andy's channel, any of the other channels, there has been nothing. We can say a lot of bad things about YouTube and that, but in some ways, it helped me a lot, because people are very, very accepting at the same time.
It's like an extended family for me on YouTube, because, like I said, obviously I speak to my son, and we're still close, and I'll still speak to his mother. His mother come on here tonight when I first came on. And I'm still close with her, but my blood family, my immediate family, mom, dad, and that, and my two sisters have nothing to do with now, nothing at all. Because they were all very very unforgiving on it, should I say? Very unforgiving. But let them get on with it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm happy as I am, and I wouldn't change for anybody. And I'd say the same to you, Sam. Be who you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's a journey that they have to take, and they have to figure out for themselves.
Yeah, and I've always said that they're the ones who've got to live with it in the end, not me. That's the way I look at it. Sorry, Andy. We're getting into realms.
It's all right. I'm just sat listening.
Yeah, but it's nice to talk sometimes about things. But I'm glad you are where you are now, Sam.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you can say, we can go on YouTube, and there's loads of drama. There's loads of drama in the paranormal community, the beauty community, biggest drama, YouTube drama. It can be a very negative place, but negativity shouldn't overcome the positivity, because
That's
usually
right.
usually the positives is better than the negativity in that.
Yeah.
But the negativity, for some reason, gets prioritized.
Yeah.
It's
I think it's human nature, and people tend to remember the negative and forget the positive.
Yeah, I mean, like, you go into the to the corner shop and look at the front page of newspapers. Bad news sells.
Yeah,
it's usually on the front page. It's usually something bad that sells the newspaper, which is sad, really.
Yeah, it is. But we'll get back onto cheerier subjects now. We're both dumped our emotional baggage, Sam. Can I have a nibble, Claire? Lol. You can have nibble on what you like, Dorothy. Feel free. I don't know what I want to nibble on of Claire's. Whatever it is, it's made of chocolate. How can people treat people so bad and be okay within themselves? If I treat anyone like that, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. That's the problem. A lot of people can live with themselves. Cats, is that cats? Sorry, I've got me thinking that, yeah. Cat says it's how we've been conditioned. Yeah, it is. You're right. YouTube has changed my life. Being loved and cared for is something I've never had, but we are family in my heart. I think you knew. I think with everything that's going on at the moment, you've just got, if you can't laugh, you might as well give up. Brett's inviting me to nibble. I'd have thought you'd have been busy with your dolphins, Dorothy.
I think when you do a stream or you do a video, what comes into my mind every time is, I know for a fact that some of my viewers can't leave their house. They're disabled and stuff like that. And for me, I know going for a walk, guys. I'm not doing any paranormal today. I'm just going for a walk. So I just thought I would bring you along and all the rest of it. There's a purpose in that. There was a purpose in me putting a camera on the dashboard of my car.
I love them streams.
Because I was just bringing people out for a drive, because I needed to go to get medication and stuff like that. It's, when you look at it in a general sort of thing, it's a bit lazy. But the reason I've done that is because we're all stuck at home, but I need to go to get medication. So let's stick the camera in the car and bring you all for a spin.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, I don't know whether Andy's the same. With what's going on at the moment, everybody is feeling locked up. Like it's almost like you're in prison. And this, for me, is a way to be getting out and meeting people. I don't know whether it's the same for Andy and you, but that's what it is with me now. I do, Brett. I love Sam's driving videos. I always say it's like being a passenger in a car as is driving around Derry. I love to see the views around Derry as is driving around. And there's normally moaning about something.
Yeah, I couldn't do them. Yeah, I couldn't do that lately because there's something wrong with the engine and it's very noisy. There's no point in me doing it, at the moment, because my car is a little bit sick.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So what you got planned next,
Andy?
Sorry, Sam.
Go on ahead.
Andy.
Hello.
I said, what you got planned next, or what you currently doing?
I'm actually currently teaching a local couple about alt fame. They're going to be starting a YouTube channel and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I'm very much in teacher mode. That's why I ain't been uploading much.
Cool. We can do with a few more on.
Yeah. It were like an accidental sort of meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple, she makes little horror creatures and stuff.
Right.
And she built this little like troll jester thing, and I was like, oh, that'll look good in my living room with all my gear, you know.
Yeah.
So I bought one off her.
With all the other 500 gnomes and God knows what.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you now, collection's growing. But I got talking to her, told her about what we do, and and they seem to take a very big interest in it. So I don't know. They've bought a spirit box. They've got a Rem Bear, K2. The cameras, and I've been taking them to some local hotspots and just and they're getting and it's weird because how it's panning out for them is very similar to how it started for us. I'm noticing similarities that's happening around them, and I'm watching it like kind of from afar.
Yeah.
And then I'm approaching them and saying, right, this is what you've just got that happened to us as well, and so it's been really good. It's been a bit of an eye opener for me,
I'm glad they're going to do a YouTube channel though.
Yeah, I think they're going to call themselves Away with the Fae. I think
that's quite a good one, actually.
Yeah. It's really cool. So yeah, I mean they're really local as well. So I've just been spending a lot of time with them,
Yeah.
Showing them what we do so far, and they're getting bloody good results. So yeah.
Oh, Pat's just asked a question that bordered on a Joanne B question. Hands up, who would love to just vanish into the Fae realm?
Still trying.
That's very similar to jump through the portal.
Oh, we're not going back there again, are we?
No.
So yeah, I should have some videos. I've kind of because obviously filming alongside them, I'm going to release some over winter. I'm just going to store some up.
Yeah.
And just slowly start releasing all videos at training, Well,
now I'm feeling a bit better and that. I want to get out and do a couple with Jace because I keep saying I'm going to, and I keep putting it off. So I've got to get some done. Yeah. I want to go back to Uber and stuff because now I'm in central Rotherham. It's easier for me to travel and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm only a 5-minute walk from the bus station and the train station. So
we drove past Uber over there. I've still not been to it.
What, been to what?
Uber stand.
Uber, yeah, we'll have to go. I love Uber stand. I'll take you to them altars. Honestly, Andy, they're not Satanist.
No,
you'll see for yourself where they're situated that they ain't any connection to Satanism, but there's definitely a lot of nature magic been going on there at times because of the things that were hung in the trees and stuff. But they did remove a lot of them, which was a shame. Because there was little fairy pendants hung up and ribbons and all sorts of things, and they took a lot of them down. Lizzie says I may dip my left leg in out and shake it all about. Sorry, Joanne. Joanne says I asked the question earlier and you never answered. I must have missed it. What was it, Joanne? Ask one of your famous questions again. Oh God, I'm dreading to think what this will be. Let's wait for her to type it in. I always dread Joanne B questions. So have you got any investigations coming up, Sam?
We are going to go back to the Rock where we got that great spirit box session and that. What we're doing is we're trying to go to the least likely haunted places ever. like a beach or a forest or whatever, and just see what happens. So, we got good results on the beach and that, and great results in the forest and stuff. So we're just going to go to nice places and see what happens. We're not, there's a bit of a stigma around graveyards and stuff like that. So we're trying to sort of cut out the graveyards. Although there is an abandoned church that I want to do. And
see, I want to do a couple of graveyards because I've never done any graveyards. But there's one. There's one quite local I want to go and visit.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't mind doing them, but it's you're starting to have a bit of a stigma.
You're locking up, Sam. Yeah. Hang on, I'll just ask Joanne B's question because it's more angled at Andy before we forget it. Andy, can the Fae help enhance your psychic abilities?
Yes, they can.
In what way?
But for a deal, obviously.
Yeah, there's always a cost with the Fae. Have they ever offered to do it for you?
I tried making a deal for my visual opening up, and they said they would, but they didn't uphold their end of bargain.
Right. Did you uphold yours though?
Yeah, I were willing to, but I don't think timing's right for it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Brett, it's mad how so many of us who are interested in this subject and live in the UK have never been to visit Stonehenge. I know I want to go. I've never been and I want to go. It's on my bucket list of places to visit before I pop my clogs. Like I say, I've been all the way to Cairo and seen the pyramids and stuff, and I've never been down. Well, I've actually been to Salisbury a few times, various dog shows. I've been like 15 miles away from Stonehenge and never got the time to go and and see. But I would like to go down. Hopefully next year when all this, stupid lockdown stuff's all over and done with, I'd like to go down there and see it. Take the spirit box down there.
We have a forest in Northern Ireland, and it's classed as one of the top 10 haunted forests in the world.
Oh, what's that, Sam?
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, crap. If it comes into my head, I'll tell you. But apparently recently, there's been a Bigfoot sighting.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know, I've never heard of any Bigfoot sightings in Ireland. That'll be interesting.
Apparently it was spotted very, very close to the people that was walking along the forest and breaking a big stick, a big lump of wood. Do you know?
Yeah.
If the forest name comes into my head, I'll tell you at the end of the stream. I know Peninsula went. There's a massive history. I mean, like, people have gone into that forest and never come out and stuff like that. So it's one of those forests.
See, I've been watching a lot of cryptid stuff on YouTube lately because I really like my cryptid stuff. And tonight I've bored Jay senseless with 4 hours of ancient alien stuff. He just sat there with his headphones on, watching his Star Trek or something. I don't know what it was.
It's called Ballygolly Woods. Ballygolly Forest.
Oh, I'll Google that later. Pagans should be allowed free and unlimited access to Stonehenge.
The story was shared on Facebook.
I think you're locked then, sir. Each driver's a toilet, a kettle, and free tea and coffee. Yeah, but for 300 quid, I could buy myself one of them little mobile cafeteria things and sell tea and coffee at Stonehenge. Don't think I'd like you to go there, Sam. You might get lost. So you're planning on going there, Sam?
It's on my bucket list. Peninsula went.
Have you ever heard of any cryptids in Ireland, Andy?
No, I haven't.
No, it's the first one I've heard of. Mind you, the only cryptid I've heard of up here is the one at Farnborough.
Right. I've heard some tales that Bigfoot's in Wales.
Yeah.
On snow, that big mountain in Wales, like, but
Snowdon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of cryptids in Wales. That is the first one I've heard of in Ireland, Sam.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dumb idea, the two of us going, like, but, you know, if the global situation wasn't the way it is, I'd probably ring Peninsula and say, like, what about going here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because, you know, it's not like America where everybody has guns.
Yeah.
You know, my torch of justice isn't going to do.
See, well, the one we've got up here in Yorkshire, Sam, is at a place called Farnborough in East Yorkshire, and it's quite an interesting one because it's actually been described as the size of a pony, but it ain't actually a Bigfoot. It's described as it looks like almost like a giant hyena. Is the best way of describing it. But it's the size of a pony sort of thing. But it's got heckles on its back and everything, really spiky and stuff. It's quite an interesting place, Farnborough. That's another place I'd like to go to.
You know, we could bring our torch of justice, but if the worst came to the worst, you'd just take it off us and use it as a toothpick. Do you know what I mean?
Places I've got encounters from people seeing a few cryptids. And I'm just say bye to Tom. Right, guys, I think I'm going to call it a night because I ain't got the stamina I had before. You know, I get tired after a bit, so I'm going to call it a night. You two stay on a bit when I go off because we can have a quick chat. But thank you all for coming on. It's been really good tonight, and I will try and do one on Friday and get the regular streamings going back, and you know I can invite Andy and Sam on, and we can have our normal chit chats. This one was a little bit last minute from last night, so I'll get some planned during the week for next week, and I'll let you and Andy know, Sam, what I've got planned, and I'll chat with Andy and see what subjects he wants to cover as well.
Well, it's good to have you back, and thank you very much for having us on. You know,
it's been great.
It really picked me up because I haven't been contacted. Rachel is the only person I speak to, really.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't done a live myself in 3 months.
Yeah.
So I haven't communicated with anybody. So I really appreciate it, you know.
Yeah. It's been nice coming back on, actually. It's the last few weeks, you know, it's been the first time I've actually felt like doing anything. But yeah, I'm glad I came on tonight, and I will do something next week, I promise. So thank you all for coming on and asking your questions. It was really nice seeing everybody, and we will see you all shortly. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Sam and Andy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.